welcome you to the City Council meeting for the City of International Falls for Monday, July the 2nd at 4:30 p.m. and ask all to rise and pledge allegiance to the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I would ask the administrators to note the roll call with Councillor Pearson absent. Move to the agenda. And there being no additions or deletions to the agenda, I would ask approval of the agenda. Motion by Councillor Briggs to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
Second by Councillor Droba. Discussion on the motion or the agenda? Question?
Aye.
Aye.
I vote yes. Motion is carried. Agenda is approved. Thank you. Move to the approval of the minutes of the June 18 regular City Council meeting.
So moved.
Motion by Councillor Droba.
Second.
Second by Councillor Jacksaw. And I have just one question on page 4 of 6. The very top item where the city attorney commented on the comprehensive liability insurance, is the word in the fourth sentence there charged or changed? Changed? Okay, so it's just a typographical, it should be an N instead of an R.
Change. Very nice catch.
And then, I don't know, the motion on the page 5 of 6 there, by Councillor Droba with regard to the rental service, that ended up being 2 years instead of... And that's
Changed, but there's language below where Councilor Jacksaw questioned the term of 5 years, and the administrator explained it to her 5 years to 2 years, and then the base increase. And then I think there was another motion to approve it, recommended changes. That was seconded by Councilor Droba, and it carried.
So was the motion by Councillor Jacksaw was to amend, is that correct?
Well,
Or was it a separate motion? I'm just trying to recall, and I'm not doing a very good job of remembering exactly what we decided. But was it a motion to amend, or was it a separate motion? Because it didn't appear that we took action on the first motion.
I think what happens in your memory serves you well, Mayor. I think what happened is I made the motion, there was a second, then we had discussion. And we changed it then after the discussion.
I think I made the original motion to accept it as it was, and then through the dialogue and conversation, we ended up amending it. And
Friendly amendment.
a friendly amendment.
I'm pretty sure that's the way it transpired.
I think the city administrator has it correct here, but I'm just not sure that it follows Robert's Rules of Order. So that was my only point in raising that question. Yes. So with the change in the one word on page 4 of 6.
I would make that change to my motion.
Motion by Councillor Droba then to, as the maker of the motion, he's changing that one word from charge to change.
That is correct.
Is that approval with second?
Yes.
Thank you. Further discussion then with regard to the minutes? None, question?
Aye.
And I'll vote yes, motion is carried. Minutes are approved with the one minor change. Thank you. We'll move to the payment of claims and transfers. We have a transfer to Fund Number 101, from the general fund from the lodging tax fund of $520.78. And accounts payable claims, the City of International Falls, a prepaid claim on the Minnesota Monument of $4,000. The City of International Falls regular claims, $256,835.88. Airport Commission claims of $57,179.47. And Airport Commission Terminal Project Phase 2 claims of $23,824. Your pleasure with the transfer and the payment of claims. Motion by Councillor Briggs. Second by Councillor Jacksaw to adopt the resolution approving the transfer and the payment of claims. Discussion on the motion or the resolution?
Mr. Mayor?
Please.
Are we coming to the end of the terminal project plans, phase 1?
On phase 1, yes, the hoping to have a complete understanding of what our costs are within the next month or two. We have a few project items that are still being changed, some work on bituminous surfacing out there that needs to be completed, other building item changes. You'd have some issues, as Councillor Briggs can probably tell us, with regard to the
Not working well?
We're having issues, but we have a holdback on it, so until they resolve the issues, they're not getting final payment, so. It works.
and I think
Steve Funk.
we're making some carpeting changes right now.
Carpet today, and
New squares or new tiles, so there's minor changes being made through the punch list. So we're hoping to be able to have something in the next month or two. Items are cleared up. Further questions or discussion with regard to the resolution? None, the Chair would call the question on adoption of the resolution.
aye.
I would vote yes. Motion is carried. Resolution is adopted. Approval of the transfer and the payment of claims. Thank you. Is there anyone in the audience that is not on the agenda that wishes to approach the council at this time? Another opportunity at the end of the meeting for that, for the audience participation there. We'll move to the public hearing. We had the earlier public hearing on the charter changes, and this would be the first reading of the ordinance, the fifth series, to amend the Home Rule Charter in sections 108, 110, 111, 113 through 117, 121 through 123, and 134, to be effective 90 days after publication. Pleasure with the first reading of the ordinance. Motion by Councillor Briggs. Second by Councillor Droba. Discussion. Hearing none, question.
No.
Vote yes. There would be 3 for the motion and 1 against. First reading is approved. I'm now going to ask a question here because I'm not certain. Does it have to be unanimous approval by the City Council to have the charter changes adopted?
Without a, yes.
So I'm thinking that the charter changes would not be adopted given that there is a member of the council.
Well, this is just second reading, and then after the second reading, it would be adoption, and it would be subject to publication. In the case of a charter commission, most of our ordinances would be effective upon publication. In the case of the charter by statute, there has to be a 90-day time period that elapses, which you pointed out. But I think at the second reading, it would be necessary to have a unanimous vote. If there is not, then it would go to the public.
For the citizens, yes.
Okay, thank you. Then move to the first reading of the ordinance in the fifth series, repealing ordinance number 1.25 and number 71 of the second series, amending the established rules governing the Special Police Benefit Fund. Your pleasure with that first reading.
Move.
Motion by Councillor Briggs,
Second.
second by Councillor Jacksaw. Discussion.
And do you want to carry it?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, the purpose for this particular ordinance is goes back to a fund that was, monies were provided by the state of Minnesota to help fund police departments, and in our case, ran from about 1972 to 1977. Those proceeds were put into a fund that was used to pay retired and permanently officers between the ages of 55 and 65 until they were eligible for Medicaid or Medicare insurance, rather. And so this ordinance was adopted originally back in the 70s, and then it was amended. Ordinance number 71, second series, was amended that original ordinance back in 1991. And there was a committee that was established to oversee this by ordinance, and the last time that committee met was 2008. And we've been monitoring this particular fund, and currently the retired officers or permanently disabled officers will receive $150 a month to help offset their out-of-pocket expenses until they're eligible for Medicare. We were seeing that the original ordinance was crafted in a way that stated that only interest earnings were supposed to be used for payment to the officers that were benefiting. And in fact, with the increases over time, there was a portion of the principal as well as interest that was being used to pay off or to pay these expenses for our retired police officers. So the council reconstituted that Police Benefit Fund Committee to re-examine this issue, and after the committee had met on two separate occasions, discussed the history, the financial condition of the fund, and the direction that they wanted to proceed in, it was pretty clear from everybody attending on that committee that there was never any false pretense on the part of the police officers that this was going to be a perpetually continuing fund. They recognized that at some point the proceeds were going to be fully dispersed and the fund was just going to go away. So that information, the committee had reviewed the ordinances and crafted this particular ordinance that specifies the specific conditions to getting reimbursed. Much of the language is the same as it was in the previous two ordinances. There are some revisions that just recognize the higher amount of payment at $150 per month, and then include some modified language on what affected permanently retired and disabled employees.
Mr. Mayor. I want to thank Ken, because Brian and I were part of that group, but Ken did all this research and work. And Eddie, is she here tonight? He also did some financial projections about how long the fund will last. I think we came up with, what, 9 years?
I think is when we were projecting.
Last about that long.
It's somewhat estimating about 1.75%.
I appreciate all the effort. And changing this was brought to all the members of the police department for discussion as well, and we were assured that everybody was just fine with the change.
Okay, further discussion? I would then bring the question of the council on the first reading of that ordinance. And I would vote yes. Motion is carried. First reading is adopted. Thank you. Move to old business, and on the table at this time is the to consider local contractor assistance or the agreement with CGI Communications to prepare an approved, no cost to the city community video program available for viewers on the city's website.
And we have to,
Have a motion.
I'll make that motion to take it off the table.
Motion by Councillor Jacksaw to remove from the table for consideration.
Second.
Second by Councillor Briggs. Discussion? Question?
Aye.
And I'll vote yes. Motion is carried. The item is now before us. Thank you. Please.
Make a motion that we obtain the services of the videoing of local events from people that are currently working in the community. I handed you sent out via email today. You haven't, have you? Interest in the community for providing this service and some of the background information of what's happening. I'm just going to go ahead and read it because not everybody has it in their hand. So I contacted Sarah Smith of Riversmith Media, Daniel Schemmerhorn of Zab Consulting, Diane Adams of the City Library, Susie Best of Charter Communications, Jim Yount, Ted Saxton of Small Town Tech, and Darcy Sullivan of KCC-TV, and as well, Pete Schultz. I called you too, didn't I? And I'm sorry for the oversight here. All the responses were positive. I gave you copies of 3 emails of which I received people's reaction, and to the concept of building a marketing consortium. What I say is we want to support that. We want them to be a part of this city. I want to thank our city administrator for bringing this opportunity to us. The CGI concept is an excellent one. And so it's just taken that fantastic idea you brought forward to us and using it to support and develop some energy around providing this service locally. And so I will go on and state, okay. We did win, I'm going to skip down this a little bit. We did win, as Councillor Droba works on that committee, and thank you. Successful effort there. The Blandon Broadband Community Designation, BBC it's called, for the county, which will mean that we have up to 3 projects at up to $25,000 each, and marketing related work fits in that. Also, we get up to 2 years of institutional support. Secondly, so we have a resource there that we can use to build a marketing initiative. KCC-TV, your franchise channel, has been interviewing nonprofits, which is a segment of CGI, to promote our nonprofits, and has been filming community events right along. So, you know, we have the video already to provide. If not, you know, we don't have video. We'll be filming the 4th of July. We don't have that yet. That's tomorrow or Wednesday. And we were present at the Dragon Boat races and the pool. So that activity's been ongoing for quite some time. So the initial concept looks like this. Actually, it goes beyond a marketing consortium. This is something that's been discussed. Nothing is promised or written in a contract or anything yet. We're in the discussion stage. The broadband designation has been awarded, but the planning doesn't even start until next year. So, partner with others to build a county-wide consortium of local marketing, technology, and public entities to create a media platform and studio that will serve local needs to promote our region and provide coverage of local events and people. help build an audio-video studio to be used by the public for video-audio production, help equip Bacchus Community Center and the International Falls High School Arena with permanent video-audio equipment to provide users readily available access to provide local coverage of events. Consortium activities to include coverage of governmental, cultural, and educational local meetings and events. Benefit, provides the infrastructure to connect local promoters, technology companies, and local government to inform the public, engage citizens in uniting to build strong communities, and provide a local platform that can highlight the area's resources, lives of our people, and thus increase community pride and identity. The consortium of local promoters, technology specialists, and government will provide the nucleus of financial resources, social energy, and talent to accomplish this. We have a changing of the guard in the county as a new generation of entrepreneurs are building their future here. They're young, they're risk takers, and they want to create communities that reflect their ideals. This consortium will engage this group of leaders to create a community media center. The best way to build a nucleus of change and hope is to unite visionaries and risk takers around a project. In this case, they are building an infrastructure of media and technology that helps people promote themselves and their talents for the new economy and thus improve our community. Okay, so this is the background discussion. I think that the concept of having the city use that effort in that consortium to highlight it on the city webpage has a lot more value than than farming it out to CGI. That is what I would like to see, as the opportunity be given for these people and and the people involved with these resources to show what they can do.
Well, I guess CGI had proposed that they were going to do something immediate, and I think you've got some good background work that's been done here, Councillor, but it appears that this is going to take probably a year to put together.
No, because if it's media you're looking for, we have that already. I mean, we're doing that every day, every week.
Who is going to, I guess, lead the effort to put together this video for the city's website, then, that would replace what CGI has proposed to do?
It would be, at this point, it would be KCC-TV that has the video that they've created for much of this already, and will be doing so going on forward, so we can provide that. But ultimately, we want a relationship that is ongoing and includes more than just KCC-TV, and participation from all local promoters to provide information and video. So it's not as narrow as what CGI is proposing. If you take, the thing is that by leaving this locally, you're giving support and momentum to helping this be realized. By taking it out of the hands of local people,
I certainly want to see things done locally here. I guess what I'm trying to understand from you is who is going to be working with to put together this video. Councilor Droba.
Thank you. So I agree wholeheartedly with what Councillor Jaxa is saying. I slightly disagree with pieces of it, because I think that you're mixing in the bland in, and you're mixing in a whole bunch of stuff which is considerably bigger than what's before us. The CGI Communications is legitimately a video program that we could put videos on our website, which, as Councillor Jaxa pointed out, we do have the capabilities in our community. Secondly, that CGI was going to do, because nobody does anything for free, they were going to sell advertisement to our website so that we can market our local businesses. They would receive funds for that, for doing that on our webpage. Those are relatively easy things. There are multiple people in our community, and if we have a group of people that are willing to work together in the near future to make this happen, I can see that working. And I know we have those capabilities at KCCTV, as Councillor Jackson had pointed out. I know that there's multiple digital outlets in our community that work with computers, Small Town Tech being one of them, the Computer Fix being another. We have outlets in our community that can do the linking to our website. The question that I have is, this is a great proposal that's been given to us, but we as a community, we as a city council don't even know what the videos are that we were going to put up. And I think I've talked about that, is are we going to do educational program, like educational programming of public hearings that are coming up, or what we have to offer as a community, or travel and tourist information? Or are we going to say we have if you have potholes, call Public Works? I mean, we don't even know what we want to put on our own website yet. So this is a great proposal that gives us opportunities and starts this discussion. But with that being said, I don't think that we are ready to make the leap to a 3-year contract with an organization. And I do think that we could do it internally. And maybe this was what we needed to get it out into the community, that we are going to be taking proposals. Maybe that's where we start. KCCTV, some of these other people, and the consortium like you had talked about, putting it all together so we have something to build forward to. If I may make a motion.
Yeah, certainly.
Well, I have a motion though.
Well, I do too.
But, I mean, can we have two motions?
I don't have a motion. Your motion was to remove it from the table.
Oh, okay.
This
I thought
would be-
I made a motion.
No.
Okay.
I would make the motion to respectfully decline the proposal from CGI at this time.
I'll second.
Motion by Councillor Droba, second by Councillor Jacksaw to respectfully decline the offer from CGI Communications. Question,
Mr. Mayor,
please.
what's going to be the process going forward then?
Well, I think that,
That's where I'm at, I thought we said a month ago we were going to put it out to the community for somebody to bring us a proposal. There's no proposal. So who's going to take the lead and get us a proposal so we have something to go by? Otherwise, I think we'll be a year down the road.
and if I may, to Councillor Droba's point about the issue, having someone not knowing what we want to do on this, my understanding from CGI Communications was that they were going to come to the community, meet with the city council, and write the script for whatever we wanted to include in that video. Peter, is that a fair description of what CGI was planning to do?
Mr. Mayor, I know that CGI was going to prepare a draft script within the 3 or 4 different areas. It depends on what the city wants to focus on. And then they were going to prepare the script, and then the city would have 3 opportunities to modify or amend that script before it was finalized. So we were going to be able to do that. That's done remotely, or they actually had somebody here. I can't speak to that. I do know that the consultant had mentioned to me on the phone when I advised her that we tabled action to consider the proposal further, and she pointed out that they would be more than willing to work with local contractors if there was somebody that the city was interested in having do some of that video work, for instance, or
Please.
I think that with the idea of having a local group work with the city, it isn't just a static group of videos that you get one time. It's done and you get it and then you're done. This would allow you to have a fluid relationship that would allow you to continually update and have an ongoing conversation with what we need to emphasize. It's much more creative and open to change and long-term interaction between would very well be providing the voice here for our community.
Well, I think the motion is fair, but I guess that right now I'm not in support of having declined this offer by CJI until we have someone coming forth that's willing to put together this video at no cost to the city and see how long it takes. That's where I would come from.
Are we legitimately talking about one video?
We're talking about four.
Are we talking?
Topics.
No, it would have could have up to 4 topics in it. My understanding. City Administrator?
That's correct. I mean, I think there's some variability from communities, but the examples that we saw, they identified, maybe you focus on economic development, or you focus on your parks recreation system, and we have some opportunities to focus on different areas, and then they prepare videos that are professionally scripted from their staff, and it's supplemented with videos of to focus on in that particular topic area. So they would work with us, and we provided a couple of examples. One was from North Branch, one was from Chanhassen that we viewed, and so there's, if we wanted to focus on 5 or 6, I think we have the latitude to do that. And as you rightfully pointed out, how can they do that free for the city? Well, the way they do it free is then they also prepare materials for other people who want to basically piggyback on our webpage, and if they want to have something that talks about their law office, or they want to talk about something about their paper supply company, or whatever it is, they can prepare videos and they charge a fee for that, and then those are included on our website as attachments. And so when people view our website and get the information, they can also go to any one of the other businesses or individuals that might choose to have an attachment on the window of that front page.
So essentially, as I understand it, in exchange for providing some videos to us, we are giving them a competitive edge, market their services, our businesses in the city. An edge, because they're using our website to...
No, I think you have it a little bit mixed up. So they're going to provide a video, and then they're going to sell advertisement from different places, and we will be product placing other businesses on our website, such as any of our Main Street businesses or whoever wants to pay them to advertise on our website.
They're using our website
To make money.
to sell their services,
No, to sell somebody else's, our local businesses' services.
but to sell their advertising.
Absolutely,
They're
absolutely.
using our website,
Absolutely.
and that is creating a competitive edge for them over other local.
Because every business would be eligible to.
Every business would be eligible, but we wouldn't be allowing someone else to use our website to market, to sell advertisement.
What this consortium would do would be to provide that service in direct competition to,
As we have an offer from them, I'm certainly then willing to decline the other, but in the meantime, I don't want to decline it until such time as we have an offer.
And that's what I thought we were gonna get back.
okay,
Some kind of offer that supposedly somebody could have went to the site where these folks are doing it and could have looked and say, hey, can I provide that same service because I've looked and see what they're doing, can I do that? And they were supposed to bring that back to us, whether they could do that, and then we'd vote on that. And I won't decline this.
Okay.
I want somebody local to do it, don't get me wrong.
I agree.
But I'm not just gonna say no to them until I hear, or until I have somebody from town that gives us a proposal saying, hey, I can do this instead of them.
that's a fair criticism. What I did was try to get some background information, put it before you as to what's bubbling up in the community, that this isn't, I'm not saying that this is a firm proposal by any means. What I'm telling you is what is happening, and do we want to be a part of supporting that nucleus of entrepreneurs and help them in the form that, you know, we can say, okay, you have access to our website to provide this stuff, rather than CGI. So, no, I don't have a proposal for you tonight. That would be a big, tall order to put that together, right? I can't
They had
do
a month
that.
to be able to look at what this company here is already doing and say, hey, I saw what they're doing and I think I can do that and here's my proposal. That's all I'm looking for. You know, if I'm all wet for that, I'm sorry.
No, and I didn't deliver on that because that is an impossible thing for me to do as an individual who isn't even in the business. But what I am showing you is that there's an interest and an energy and change happening, and that this was an opportunity to help that. That's what I'm showing you.
Mr. Mayor, given the conversation that we've had and hands down the hard work that Councillor Jackson has put into this, and seeing that there is definitely interest in the community to move forward, I understand on both sides of me the concerns on declining the offer that we have before us. I would change my motion to table for another 2 weeks, because I think at this point, if we can get it on the 16th agenda, I would like to work one-on-one with Councillor Jackson to try to hammer out the concerns that both Councillor Briggs and Mayor Anderson have brought forward. So I would move to table for another 2 weeks.
Well, and certainly the motion to table is in order, but I think if we just either withdraw or turn down, just leave the offer out there by CGI, which is still before us, and if there's some group or individual firm in the community that wants to come forth with a plan to do something,
I would move to withdraw my motion.
May I?
Please.
Thank you, Councillor Droba, for partnering with me on this. I see you as part of that nucleus.
So the offer by CGI would still be before us, but any other offer would be before us also. We don't have a definitive answer unless the city administrator thinks we need it.
No, they'll wait, they'll need to wait. I think, for the record, I think we're going to reflect that the motion, original motion and second is still on the floor. There's a motion to table which would precedent over that, and it will be for hopefully there'll be a local contractor or contractors that can offer a proposal for the council to consider on July.
And with the idea that what we would be offering, let me make this clear because I'll be working with Councillor Droba to try to draft.
We'll just figure it out after.
Thank you. Move to the consent agenda and approval of the travel and training expenses for 3 employees to attend the...
Do we need to vote?
Well, then we need a second to the motion to table then.
I would move to table for 2
second.
weeks.
For 2 weeks, okay. And second by Councilor Jackson. The motion to table the question of declining the CGI communications for 2 weeks. Question?
Aye.
I'll vote yes. Motion is carried. The offer is tabled. Thank you. Go to the consent agenda and the travel expenses for employees to attend the Minnesota Rural Water Association Class D wastewater test preparation and examination. Motion by Councilor Briggs. Second by Councilor Droba. Question?
Aye.
I'll vote yes, motion is carried, consent agenda is approved. Thank you. We go to new business. Item 1 under new business is to consider the request to close 2nd Street between 9th and 10th Avenues for the neighborhood street party from 5:30 p.m. to 10 p.m. on Saturday, July 14. Motion by Councilor Briggs to approve.
Second.
Second by Counselor Droba. Question?
Aye.
I'll vote yes. Motion is carried. Approval is given for the closure of the street. Item number 2 under new business is to allow the use of City Beach and Riverside Park by the Christian Motorcycle Association for overflow camping July 25th through the 29th and waive the calendar street parking on said dates. Motion by Councillor Briggs,
Second.
second by Councillor Jacksaw. Discussion?
Just for clarification purposes, so the motion is to approve, as it was on the agenda, that it's City Beach and Riverside Park versus City Beach and Smoky Bear. Question, because we identified that perhaps Smoky Bear Park offered the opportunity to have restroom facilities for the RVs. I just wanted to make sure the council was clear that Christian Motorcycle Association, if they wish to, at the school district grounds, but if they have an RV, that those allow them there because of the potential damage to their grounds. So RV vehicles to park at Riverside Park.
Further questions or discussion? Question?
Aye.
And I'll vote yes. Motion is carried and approval is given. Thank you. Item number 3, presentation of the proposed 2018-2019 Recreation Commission budget and authorize preparation of the audit of financial statements. Mr. Bill Mason.
Yeah, I think everybody got a budget summary for 18-19 fiscal year. The Rec Commission passed their budget at our last meeting. Summary, I have city funding, $82,000. Our levy, I've got $85,159. Last November, where cost per pupil went up to $74. Charge, it's at $36,000. Our athletic director agreement with the school district. $1,054 for
It says 95,000.
95. That's 95, 40. That was before.
That should be 97,940.
97, 940.
Please, City Administrator.
Can I just make a clarification? The item that Mr. Mason was just mentioning is that the summer program had $1,000 was omitted from the material that was sent out with the packet on Friday. So Mr. Mason updated that information, and we put a handout in front of you today. So one he's going to would be like the summary sheet that was handed out and in front of you today. It's probably the last sheet in which you received today, and those are the numbers that he's reviewing now. So it says budget summary for 2018-19 at the top, and he's started looking at the expenses, which are about halfway down on that last. For the program expenditures now read $97,940.
And I think the question is with regard to the audit. And did the Recreation Commission opt the request to have the city do the audit?
Yeah, we did. We did.
And I guess a bit of background and history, it's my understanding that some years back, maybe 5 or 6 years ago, the city part of the doing the audit for the Recreation Commission.
And we did, take the audit. I started doing audit reports,
That threshold is?
2016, the threshold was 209. That's December 31st.
Satisfies.
The places were
Now that
over the threshold.
So how long, we're over the threshold for the budget for next year. We don't necessarily need to incur that expense unless we exceed
Right.
the threshold.
And I mean, that threshold went go up.
Probably will.
It went up,
The bookkeeping there is so little, really, when you look at it.
well, like I said, the city did the audit,
Because I thought a lot for what was involved.
which was,
I don't know if an annual audit is required, but I think an audit every 3 years, 5 years maybe, would be useful. But because you do get, a review of, things change, right? You change in people.
we're right in about 5-year period, I think, or
Okay.
2012.
Yeah, I wouldn't be averse to spending the money. I thought annually was a waste of money, frankly.
the question that should be posed is though, why did the city audit? Why did the city pay for the audit of the Recreation Commission versus the two parties that are members of the Recreation Commission, the city and the school district? Secondly, the school district and the Recreation Commission fiscal years are the same. The city goes by the January, December, and
I think we used to rotate. In the city hands.
Well, there was probably no real good reason. Answer to your question.
But we are on the same fiscal.
So because it was done in the past doesn't mean we need to keep doing it. But it's been a few years now, so.
well, even if we split the cost of the audit,
Or we split it.
and hopefully, as you pointed out, they would adjust the expense figure so that if it went upwards, we would not have to have an audit, but just a submission by you of the expenses of the Recreation Commission for their review.
But Mr. Mayor, I think having an audit, if we haven't had one for 5 years, probably wouldn't hurt. I mean, there are,
Don't have a problem with that.
yeah, I mean, I'm not averse to spending $5,000 every 5 years. That's $1,000 a year on average. I am averse to spending $5,000 every year.
So we have the budget before us. It does not include a budget, but it did include a budget request. Is that, am I stating that right, or is that a separate question? I think it probably should be a separate question, whether or not the city is going to do the budget, do the audit.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. So let's deal with the issue of the budget as amended on program expenses. Counselor Droba.
As a member of the Rec Commission, I would move on the 2018-2019 budget as presented.
Second.
Motion by Counselor Droba, second by Counselor Briggs to accept the 2018-2019 Recreation Commission budget. Question.
I'd just like to point out how you can see from the budget how key that levy is. How key that taxpayer support for that has been. And with that, I would like to thank one of the members in the audience here, Joe Schwartz, who was instrumental in moving that in the community. He was part of that committee to get that passed, so that was a key. Thank you for your leadership on that. So we're reaping the benefits now and providing, more affordable participation for our kids.
Counselor Droba.
And I think that, I just want to add on what Councillor Jackson had just said. I believe this is the first year in a couple of years that the school district's actually paying more into the joint powers agreement than the city, correct? So this is,
No, it's not the school district, it's the citizens.
well,
Because the
levy comes from the
levy comes
taxpayer,
from the, yeah.
fair, collected by the school district.
The contributions are the athletic director agreement.
Okay. And the second thing I just wanted to point out on the budget, there is one new thing, and we're looking at getting some summer programs for next summer. Obviously, we can't do anything with the budget this summer, but we have $2,000 set aside for summer recreation program. There's some conversation with the programming at the rec board on what that might be. We're looking at possibly bringing back the 4th of July float making or something like that, just another activity in the summer that the kids can do.
Bare minimum, we could donate.
Okay, further discussion with regard to the motion to approve the 2018-2019 Recreation Commission budget?
Mayor? To discuss the audit issue after action on the budget? Because I might offer that, given that it's a joint powers agreement and both parties are, I don't know why one party would be responsible for an audit of something that's a function of both. And given that there's, on the budget summary, it shows a estimated net income of $3,663, I would raise the question, wouldn't it be appropriate to just include the audit as part of a Recreation Commission expense, at least 2018-2019, because audit this year, and it wouldn't have to be part of a budget if we go below the threshold in future years, and as more net income, as opposed to having an off-the-books expense for the Recreation Commission that doesn't show in the budget, and it would be purely a city.
Good point, but I think we should just pass this budget and amend it if we have to with your suggestion, because it's this part done.
In my understanding, if I'm correct, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Bill, that we don't have to do a audit this year because we did not exceed the, so you're going to be sending in the report to the state auditor.
Right.
Now,
I did for 16 and 17, I've sent those.
So
Next report I gotta do is
17 and 18.
17, 18.
But we won't know that issue until probably next year in March or April, whether we need to do an audit.
Unless we want to do one, since we have.
Unless we wanna do one automatically.
We haven't had an official one
So-
for about 5 years.
That's why I think we should hold this as a different question.
Great.
And we are.
Yep. Okay. Further discussion on the motion before us on the budget? Hearing none, question?
Aye.
Aye.
I'll vote yes. Motion is carried, and Recreation Commission budget is approved. Thank you. Now, the question of audit.
All right, I would move that we perform an audit every 5 years. And that the beginning of that cycle will be with an audit for fiscal year 18-19 that would take place in that. To the extent that we have surplus funds in the budget, that be applied to the audit, and that a contribution from the city audit in the cycle only, not permanently.
Accepting your motion, let me just understand, if I understood, the first part of your motion was that we would have an audit every 5 years. I'm not sure.
Unless we meet.
Unless we,
the surplus.
if we exceed the expense limit that the state auditor has, we have to do an audit every year.
Correct.
So I don't know that,
Well, we haven't for a long time now.
fortunately, they've been adjusting it, and we've been able to stay below that threshold.
Raise my-
Please.
Unless we are required to do an audit, we shall do an audit at least once every 5 years. How about that? A minimum of once every 5 years. Which means we would do an audit with this cycle in any case, regardless if we exceed or not the threshold, the one for 18-19, because we haven't done one for 5 years, right?
2011,
So,
12.
And then the second part is that
that we would
if there are
use
funds available in the budget,
budget.
that they be utilized.
to defray the cost of the audit, and that to the extent that that isn't sufficient, the city, will pick up the.
My question is why can't the audit expenses just come out of the rec commission budget, period?
Well, there may not,
I'd like a second to the motion first, then for further discussion.
you guys give it a shot.
Is there a second to the motion? For a second time, is there a second to the motion? And for a third time, is there a second to the motion? Hearing no second, the motion dies for lack of a second. Councilor Droba.
Can we just refer the audit issue back to the rec board? We have representation from the city council at the rec board. We have representative of the school district at that board. Come up with a recommendation at that level and bring it back up. That way everyone's on the same page of what we're proposing. And we'll just have that on the next agenda at the rec board.
School board members.
Absolutely.
And I think we should just at the rec.
And then just bring
at
it
the
back
rec
up.
commission level, just say it's coming out of our budget, period.
All right. Whatever, I think.
It's simple, it's.
I just think we need an audit this coming year, that's all.
I agree. I do agree.
Thank you. Item number 4, then, under the new business, is to consider the revised joint powers agreement for the recreation services between the International Falls School District 361 and the city, effective July the 1st of 2018. Motion by Councilor Briggs to approve the revised joint powers agreement.
Second.
Second by Councilor Droba. Discussion. Please.
On page 3, regarding finances of the commission, one of the changes was stating that the city of International Falls will provide accounts payable, accounts receivable, and payrolls, and I emphasize, an audit of income and expenditures required by law for the Recreation Commission activities. So would that supersede the council's intent to review that?
Certainly would. Speaker of the motion wish to amend the motion that we remove that.
I would definitely amend the motion to remove that.
Okay, so the maker of the motion is to accept the joint powers agreement without the change in section 6 under the finances of the commission, removing an audit of income and expenditures required by law. Okay with a second?
Yes.
He would continue to provide accounts payable, accounts receivable, and payrolls. Is that correct?
We don't do, no, we don't.
We just do payroll. The city does not do accounts payable or receivable because you have your own checking account.
Commission approves it at the meeting.
Right. So we need to have a change there also.
City-
I would suggest maybe that we have this go back to the Rec Commission for review.
I
Table to the Rec Commission for-
I remember that. I missed that one.
I apologize. I missed that when we were going through it this last. I apologize.
Motion to table.
Take it off.
Motion to table. Or motion to refer to the Recreation Commission for review.
I'll make of that motion. Oh, it was made, second.
We have a motion by Councillor Briggs.
second.
Briggs and second by Councillor Jacksaw that the joint powers agreement be referred to the Recreation Commission for further review. Question?
Aye.
Yes, motion is carried, and we'll have that before us again. Thank you. Further, Bill? Anything else? Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
Thanks, Bill.
Move to item 5 on new business, and that's consider Public Works and Committee recommendations. First is on the Falls High School, that there be no on-street parking on the south side of 11th Street from Highway 1171 to 15th Avenue. And that the request that the county construct a sidewalk on the north side of 11th Street from Home Lane to the crosswalk at Highway 1171. Motion by Councillor Droba. Second by Councillor Briggs. Discussion. Please, City Administrator.
Trying to keep my comments very brief. I wanted to draw to your attention that I had written a memo in support of, or as follow-up of this particular item, and we passed out 2 aerial photos and GIS mapping renditions. One shows the proposed parking that our staff prepared, showing where the parking would be on the north side of 11th Street, where there would be some no parking and handicap parking. And then there's another attachment that was prepared with some boxes and text in it, and those were prepared by Joe Sutherland, the Koochiching County Highway Engineer, identifying more specific conversation items that the County Highway Engineer, myself, and our Street Commissioner had visited with him about, and I had identified in the memo that county engineer is going to be looking at the availability of funds that the county might have to do those improvements yet this year and before the school year starts. So he's doing further research so that moving forward with this motion, I think is appropriate, but that the details that might comprise what type of improvements we actually have might be subject to change, depending on the county's availability, based on safety standards and specific design that we're looking at. But essentially, we want to move forward with this proposal as it's shown conceptually, with a sidewalk on the north side of 11th Street and parking available on the north side of 11th Street, but essentially no parking with the exception of loading and unloading and emergency vehicles outside 11th Street.
And may I add that the committee is of the understanding that this was a request from the school district board.
And not the residents.
This is from the school district.
That's correct. There was a school board action taken back in March or April, and that information was forwarded to us from the maintenance person. And coordinate with them as part of this process, and
Thank you. Further discussion? Hearing none, question?
Aye.
I would vote yes, motion is carried, and no parking and sidewalk improvements are approved. Thank you. Item B is that the city would reimburse the property owner up to $1,250 for a 10th Street water main break. That would be at the location of 1019 10th Street. And damage to the basement, subject to them submitting receipts for those damage claims.
Property owner, $1,078.72, the actual amount of the claims that they have put in.
Motion by Councilor Droba to reimburse the property owner at 1019 10th Street, $1,078
72.
and 72 cents. Thank you. Second to the motion.
Second.
Second by Councilor Briggs. Discussion.
I didn't see where the city was.
Councilor Droba.
May I just give a little background on this to the best of my knowledge of how this has came forward? When we had a fire on 11th Street, when we were closing out a main, the water main, and correct me with any information that I am saying incorrectly. When the main shut off, we ended up having to break down the street, which is in front of this house. The water came up and went into her basement. It was actually our main inside the street. It wasn't her water or anything like that. She did submit her claim to the League of Minnesota Cities, and it was denied from the League of Minnesota Cities because we were, according to their research, not at fault, because we did not know that the line was bad, and we did everything in our power to try to fix the error as fast as possible. However, it was a broken line on our part, and it did flood her basement, causing damage in which she could not get reimbursed from her insurance company. And so, at no fault of her own, she incurred a little over $1,000 in claims, which had nothing to do with her property at all.
Sounds reasonable.
And I think we have a deductible, either $500 or $1,000, so
Even if it was, yeah. Okay.
further discussion. Question.
Aye.
I'll vote yes. Carried, and reimbursement is approved. Thank you. Item number C is to Council consider constructing a dog park with signage and use regulations at the Riverview Park as part of the 2019 budget process, with notice and public meeting for area residents. By Councilor Droba. Second to the motion.
I'll second for discussion.
Seconded by Councilor Jacksa. Discussion.
I'd love to discuss. My concern, there's no question that we probably need a dog park, although the college provides a lot of that land out there. I could see people walking their dogs quite a bit out there, which right now doesn't cost us anything anyway, you know. But my thing about Riverview is that's not very big for a dog park, is it?
It's about times the size of a regular dog park.
Is it?
Yeah.
Because the ones I've been in, out, you know, like in the Twin Cities area, are
This only puts it before the budget processing and would outline if cost of fencing and other improvements that would need to be made, signage and so forth. It would also, before all of that would ever be done, there would be a notice to the property owners within 200 feet of the Riverview Park, and a public meeting would be held.
Have we assessed the need for a dog park?
I don't think we've assessed the need. I think I've been confronted by two people specifically about it in the last 6 months. That's why I brought it to Public Works. But before that, we had a lot of people using the 8th Street rink for a dog, but we took that away when 8th Street reopened as a rink because it caused problems in the winter, the poop in the summer. No, I don't think we've done an assessment on it. This is a proposal for the 2019 budget process. In the event that we do a public hearing and we don't hear from people that want it, we don't hear from people that don't want it, it can be a dead issue, but this is something that's been brought up, and I think that rather than somebody coming to our council meeting in the middle of a year and saying, hey, wouldn't it be nice to have a dog park, I think going through the proper channels of going through the Budget and Finance Committee and moving forward in the budget process, I think makes the most sense for the future of it.
I'm not, and I'm certainly open to considering it and assessing the need, but I'm not totally sold on that particular location, but it doesn't, you know, we're not tied to that location necessarily either in this recommendation, are we?
We would be with this motion, yeah.
We would be? Well, I don't know if I can. You know, the reason is I think that there are other sites that may be more popular even than that one. I don't know. I don't know if I cannot commit to a particular site without an assessment or any of the background work being done. But I'd like to help you out. I mean, I think the concept is, will our land use plan have any comment on that? Probably not, huh?
Mayor, I don't believe that there's been any conversations about that at a comprehensive plan level, although if it was a future goal of the city, that would be an appropriate place to identify that and then continue with the study. I will add that I've heard some among my peers and other communities, and just seeing various local press, is that dog parks are becoming more popular, and there's several communities that have recently instituted dog parks and had committees or people dog parks and the use of dog parks, and so I'm seeing that it's more common now. I don't know if it's dogs, and as Councilor Droba pointed out, you know, there was a lot of interest in pursuing this. And people are due and it would be mowed and maintained. So we did it for 1 year. We didn't do it for that location.
And one of as you know, one of the conversation pieces that we've had as a committee of the whole is the conversation out at the Humane Society and the fencing in there for them to have dogs to run. And they've even pointed out that they've had issues with being able to take places where dogs can run where they're confined. Because like you had pointed out, yes, people can take their dogs running out in Rainier, but then they're not on a leash, they're not confined, and it's essentially a free-for-all. At least this way we would have rules and regulations in one place that can do it. And looking at that position, you have the park up high, and then that bluff that goes down low, you'd be able to see over top of the dog park. So it offers a very large area for the dogs to run around.
Can we move this forward to budget without locking in a particular location? Because I think the merit of a dog park is very important. It's just, I don't know, I just believe that to be true because of all the dogs we have, I think there's 2 dogs per household on average. But I think we may overlook some cost savings and some maybe a more popular site, that's all. I mean, how can you just pick that particular location and say it's the perfect one? That's all.
The reason that the conversation between me and the 2 people that I've talked to, that was the one that we decided, was because it no longer gets used for its initial intended purpose. It used to be a t-ball field, it used to be a baseball field, it no longer gets used for that purpose. So right now, it's just the Public Works that's going out there and mowing it, and it's not being utilized in any capacity. And it's an area that's off. You're next to water. You're have a playground there for kids to play as well, and it's a park that's not being utilized as much as it could. Yes, I'm sure we have lots of other open fields, but at least this way we have other services there. There's a porta potty already there. There's the only issue that I see with that particular site would be parking. You would have on-street parking, and like I had brought up at the Public Works meeting, if this becomes a hit and we end up doing really well with it, that's something we can fix at a later time because there is additional room there too.
Clarification.
Please.
I really appreciate the insights and the hard work you've done on this, and I would like to see this come to the budget process. But I just can't just off Riverview. Is it possible to move this and then have a further? And if there are no other alternatives offered, well then, and to consider and compare, well then Riverview it would be, right?
I would entertain the motion to looking somewhere else. The only thing is I can't conceive where we have additional open space. As a city park, we don't have any other places that we have open space. Cary Park doesn't have the open space. We don't own, all of our city parks are very small areas inside city limits on Main Street where we have the Centennial Park. I mean, I just don't see where we have some place that's easy access from the loop around town that you could get to other than that one park.
Okay. Well, see, I don't know that, I guess. But if you're in Public Works, I'm not. So you've really done an inventory and feel really comfortable about that. I am going to go along, I guess. I would bring,
Excuse me.
Go ahead.
I would bring to council's attention that I believe we authorized the part of their forest.
yeah, we did.
So that
Environmental
students,
Learning Center.
environmental forest, so that they can go down to the river at that location and
How does that mix with dogs? It does.
Dogs are a natural part of the ecosystem.
Kids and dogs don't always mix.
But the thing of it is it's if what we were talking about humor me and let this go to Budget and
I will.
Finance, and we will hammer out all the
Hey.
details later.
I respect your heart, I mean, I'm willing, it's just that I'm not locked into Riverview, but I'll vote yes, okay. All right.
Further discussion? Question?
Aye.
Aye.
And I'll vote yes. Motion is carried and will be part of the budget process. Thank you. Item D under the committee's recommendation is to consider forgiving sewer bill of $1,413.60 for residents. They were out of town and returned home to find that the outdoor water faucet had been turned on, and none of the water entered the sewer system, and so they were asking for forgiveness of that at the residence on 2106 4th Avenue West. Motion by Councillor Briggs. Second to the motion? I would second the motion. Discussion.
Well, we addressed this question in the past, and we did not allow it. I do believe in making decisions like this, you need to be consistent. So I
Should be consistent in allowing this to happen, because the water did not go to the sewer.
It ran out in the yard.
You know, I've been through this, and the council forgave me that part when it happened to me. And when I filled my pool, because that water is not going into the sewer, I was forgiven the sewer portion of the bill.
have a special provision that you can fill your pool once a year.
Yes.
That's a separate provision. This is,
Might be different, but the point is, the water's not going into the sewer, so why should they have to pay a sewer charge?
But they're
They
paying
can
the
prove that
water.
it didn't go to the sewer. And they're only being forgiven the sewer charge, not the water bill, not the water that they...
And only that part of the sewer bill, they still pay the minimum sewer bill.
That should be for anybody. I don't care who you are. If the water did not go in the sewer, you shouldn't have to pay the sewer charge for accidents that happen.
The city is not charged because it's all based on a gallonage.
Right.
And if it didn't go into the city sewer, then the city is not paying.
Exactly.
well, we did have this come before the council prior to, after you left, but when I was on. And it was a young child who turned on the outside spigot, and we did not allow them a break for the sewer portion of the bill. My contention is that if we start getting into calling these balls, we'll be doing it all the time, and it's come up too often already for my taste. I think it opens up a door to a administrative nightmare. I will vote no on this because I am going to support city staff on their conversations over this, the time that's involved. If we want to do something, we should set up a reserve fund where people, and we could work out the details on it, but other cities have done it and would provide a far better solution to this problem than trying to call balls every time somebody comes with a complaint. No, I'm voting no.
Well, if the city doesn't expend any funds, why would we set up a fund to pay these out of?
Well, what you do is you provide an additional insurance amount into the monthly water and sewer bill, and it is an accounting device, but it serves to alleviate a loss to a customer who, you know, I mean, yes, you have these hardship cases. They come up infrequently, and if they come up frequently for a customer, well, then you have an issue with the customer. Infrequently, they do occur to anybody, right? And for an infrequent event, let's say once every 3 to 5 years, we're going to allow you to get a waiver of anything over $1,000. I'm just making up these provisions as I go. It would take a committee and some work to actually draw up the parameters. But that allows relief from a real burden. It eliminates the need to be negotiating this at council meetings. And it's what,
There's nothing to negotiate. It comes up once in a while, and it's forgiving somebody's
come up once in a
water
while.
bill that this water did not go to the sewer. It's so simple, and you're trying to make it complicated.
I am not trying
Let's
to,
keep it simple. They come to us saying, hey, the water did not go to the sewer. It's approved. If it's a fact, the water did not go to the sewer, they shouldn't have to pay the sewer charge, period.
I think from a legal standpoint, listed on requiring somebody to pay a sewer bill, water that did not go into the sewer, if they took us to small claims court, we'd lose. There's no question in my mind that the judge would say, you know, you can't collect a sewer charge from them, so it's not, I mean, it's a lot of money, so, but it's not the issue, in my mind, that it's a hardship, it's an issue that we're trying to charge them for sewer costs when the water didn't go into the sewer. That's incorrect for us to do that.
all right.
I mean, I think it may be, you know, there's probably not a lot of cases where a homeowner can demonstrate, you know, this water did not go into the sewer. You know, it's going to be a very unusual situation, I would think, where that would occur, because in most instances, if you got excess water going on, it's going into the sewer, and then they have to pay. But here, where I'm taking it from what's being presented, it's been proven to our staff satisfaction, this water did not go into the sewer. I don't see how we can try to collect it legally.
So if I use water to water my gardens, I don't have to pay for the sewer on that?
How do you know that that's not getting there?
Well, if I'm taking it doesn't go into the sewer if I'm putting water into my yard.
Well,
And I think that's where my concern is on this. Because I agree with Councilor Briggs, if we can verify 100% that it's not going into the sewer,
Sanitary sewer.
the sewer, which is twofold. It's the storm sewer and the sanitary sewer. And we know that we have I&I issues in the community. That's what we've been talking about for the last 6 months. We have a committee working on I&I, inflow and infiltration. So if it goes in the storm sewer, how do we not know that if it made it into the storm sewer, some point down the road, it's going to hit a break and get into the sanitary sewer, and then it's still getting shipped to North Cooch Sanitary District to get cleaned. We're still going to be paying for it. So I understand that if we can say 100% that it's on a decline that's going right into the river and we're not paying for it, I would do it, but we can't do that. And the staff did not say 100% that they can guarantee that the water didn't make it into the sewer. They're just saying it was brought to the committee, and 2 members of this council sat on the Public Works Committee, me and Mayor Anderson, and it was a split decision on whether we should move it to council. But I don't think it's 2 people's choice on if it should go to council or not. So I voted to move it to council because this is an issue that determines all 5 of us to make that choice.
Well, my understanding is that staff did visit the site and found that the water was going out the back of the property into a wetlands area. Further, these residents are not home very often. I think some of their last bills have been where they used approximately 200 gallons of water. In this case, the water that went through the meter was 11,600 gallons, and asking, they're going to pay the monies for the water, but they're not willing to, they're asking if they can be forgiven for the sewer.
Well, it goes to, I mean, you know, I'm going to ask for a credit for my lawn watering and my garden watering then, because it's not going into the sanitary sewer. And I would like them to go to small claims court, because then we would have precedent here. I mean, you know.
Further discussion? Question?
No.
I would vote yes. There being 2 for and 2 against, the motion fails. Item number E under the committee recommendations is to approve the purchase of a pothole patch asphalt recycling unit from Falcon Road Maintenance Equipment LLC on the state bid price of $47,787.94. Monies to come from the Capital Outlay Fund.
So moved.
Motion by Counselor Droba. Second by Counselor Jackson. Discussion? Question?
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
I'll vote yes, motion is carried, and purchase is approved. Thank you. Item number F under the committee's recommendations is to approve the purchase of a roller skid and push inspection camera system from McQueen Equipment Incorporated on the state bid price of $11,997. Monies to come from the storm and sanitary sewer account.
So moved.
Motion by Counselor Droba. Second by Counselor Jackson.
This is not discussion?
Excuse me?
Discussion?
Discussion, yes.
Okay. Is this coming from our capital outlay account or our operating account?
It will from storm and sanitary sewer accounts.
Mr. Mayor,
Please.
we had it budgeted, I believe, out of our operating accounts because it wasn't in the capital outlay account. The dollar amount does qualify for a capital outlay, so it's general in the, I revised the agenda to make it general because I'm still working with the staff to determine where it is. I do have, it's 48,270 and 48,280 are department codes for it, 20. I'm trying to verify that, but there will be a portion of it. It's about $39.99 paid out of storm sewer. The remainder would be out of the sanitary. Actually not budgeted in the capital outlay account because we don't have accounts for those. So that's, I'm working with staff to see, do we want to create ones or do we want to just pull it from where it was budgeted? And I'm farmer rather than the latter. I want to make it come out of a capital outlay, but we don't have the accounts set up to do that right now.
God knows we don't, more accounts, right?
Further discussions or questions? Question.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
I'll vote yes, motion is carried, and the purchase is approved. Thank you. Item number G is to accept the donation of funds from the Recreation Hockey Association to purchase an exterior door for the Cary Park Arena Storage Building for installation by the Public Works Department.
So moved.
Motion by Counselor Droba,
Second.
second by Counselor Briggs.
Question. Does this donation cover city labor too, or just the cost of the door?
Just the cost of the door. And what their intentions is, and if you've looked at the committee's report, is that they're going to, Recreation Hockey Association has acquired a skate sharpener, and they want to put it in the storage building, but they need to have an access door from the outside to be able to do that, and so they're going to provide the door, and the Public Works Department will install it.
I'm fine with that. I just wanted to make sure how that was working.
Thank you. Further discussion? Question?
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
I'll vote yes, motion is carried, and donation of funds is accepted. Item H under the committee's recommendations is to direct that a letter be sent to the Executive Director of the North Couchiching Area Sanitary District requesting a meeting in International Falls with the Sewer District's Attorney David Oberstar and in the City Attorney, City Administrator, Public Works staff, and committee members.
I'll move.
Motion by Councillor Jackson. Second by Councillor Briggs. Question? Question?
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
And I'll vote yes, motion is carried, the letter will be sent. Thank you. Item number 6 under new business is to accept the Budget and Finance Committee recommendation to initiate annexation into the City of International Falls for city-owned properties and private property owners consenting to annexation.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Councillor Jackson.
Yeah.
I'll second.
Second by Councillor Droba. Question? Question?
Aye.
And I'll vote yes, motion is carried, and the recommendation will be initiated. Item number 7, the Rainier Resolution 2018-08, detrimental effect of blight, public nuisance, for council information or action.
Sounds like a good
He's
idea.
a city administrator.
I just wanted to point out that the City of Rainier, their city council adopted the resolution. It's actually on the second sheet here. It's Resolution 2018-08. They're noting the detrimental effect of blight and the fact that it's a public nuisance in their community. They're asking that the county board and city officials in the county schedule a forum to discuss the measures that can be taken to effectively confront the issue of blighted properties. In response to receiving that, there's a correspondence dated June 27th from the Director of County Administration indicating that they're referring this to their Public Health Nuisance Committee to have a forum and discuss this. So I think the question is whether or not the City of International Falls wants to participate. I know that in the past, in our public discussions, council is very concerned about blighting influences on the community and very proactive about trying to remove blighted structures through our demolition program as well as through the correspondence and efforts of our housing inspector and our building official. So.
On the surface, this seems to be, but wondering.
I think a motion to participate in the Public Health Nuisance Committee and with the county and Rainier would be in order.
So moved.
Motion by Councilor Droba.
Second.
Councilor Briggs, that the City of International Falls would participate in meetings with the Public Health Nuisance Committee of the county and the City of Rainier. Further discussion?
I guess I have a question as to the purpose. I am not eager to have county funds pay for blight in other communities. Properly belong in that city's budget. The city spends quite a bit of money on blight. Now, I'm not saying that that's the reason. I'm just wondering what benefit we're going to get out of it. What's the purpose of these meetings? I do understand that blight in proximity to International Falls affects us as well, and public perception that there's overlap there. I'm just wondering, I'm not sure what the purpose is here. And forgive me for being suspicious, but I am.
If you take a look at the Rainier resolution and the now therefore be it resolved, Council is asking that the Koochian County Board and its city officials schedule a forum to discuss measures to effectively confront the issue of blighted properties. So I think they're just talking about having a forum that would take and bring the cities and the county together, because there are certainly, as you said, some areas outside the City of International Falls and the City of Rainier that are blighted as well. And so I think they're just asking that we come together and talk about some effective measures to resolve blight.
Are you going to serve on that committee?
I'd be willing to be there.
I would want to be kept abreast of anything where money's involved.
I'm certainly not willing to spend money somewhere else, but we've got enough of our own. And I know that the building inspector in his office, along with the fire chief, has sent out numerous letters to properties this year, both on grass that's too high, as well as blight, as well as buildings that need to be removed. So there's a lot happening there. I think we've got a good process already. So the motion is then to just participate in the, with the county and Rainier on discussions of blight.
And hurt, I guess.
Question?
Aye.
And I'll vote yes. Motion is carried. Participate. Thank you. Any other new business? And we'll go to reports of the boards, committees, and department heads. City Administrator.
Mayor, I don't have anything to report other than I think I sent out some correspondence, or there's been some correspondence that's come out via the internet. The Supreme Court made a decision that said that fair share fees for union members and collective bargaining units are no longer contract right now to see if any employees are affected. And we received correspondence from one of our unions, and we corresponded with all three of our members to let them know about that decision. So we're following up on that. Otherwise, I don't have any additional information unless...
Questions for the City Administrator?
Just a comment on your note about the Supreme Court. I always get suspicious when corporate interests get really concerned about workers' rights. I always think there's a deeper, more malevolent reason for them to be concerned about fair share, right? Anyway, that's just my take on it.
Thank you. City Attorney.
Mr. Mayor, Council would advise you that following the last meeting 2 weeks ago, Matthew Donahue did sign the revised agreement for the Donahue property and did send the first half of the Donahue Trust contribution to the cost of the parking lot, and so I delivered that $2,500 check to administration. So we're on track there. That's all I have.
Thank you. Questions for the City Attorney? Department heads here at this time. Fire rescue report. Yet, okay. And we'll go to reports of the mayor, council committees, boards, and commissions. Committees other than the Public Works?
Committees, but I want to say we won on the poll. That's my report. We did have some injuries though, so that's tempered by that. But the City of International Falls, or the U.S. side of that tug, won that trophy this year.
Too bigly. You won too bigly.
I would, on behalf of Councilor Briggs and myself, we met with the Federal Aviation Administration and Minnesota Department of Transportation Aeronautics on the rebuild of the main runway, and that is moving forward very well. Will be a considerable project and expense, but working to find the necessary funding for that, and it appears that at least 95% of that would be paid by FAA, and working with MnDOT Aeronautics on their possibly contributing up to 2.5% of that cost. So we could have possibility of having it at 97.5% paid. So very, very big item, and certainly would put our airport in tip-top shape. Also, the county housing meeting, Councilor Jacksaw and Administrator Anderson and myself attended that. Was covered very well by the newspaper, and that study is now underway. Also participated in the Canada Day Parade yesterday with Mayor Avis, and had an opportunity to meet with the new member of Provincial Parliament, Mr. Greg Rickford of the Progressive Conservative Party, and the conversation did get around to tariffs, which probably not unexpected. So it was a good, very good opportunity to meet with the member of Provincial Parliament. With that, any further council committees or reports? Any questions, audience, participation? Anyone in the audience that wishes to raise something?
I just have one thing as far as the city's citywide cleanup.
Oh, yes.
We didn't do one this spring. Basically, my fault. I was out of town and that. But we are going to take the opportunity to roll that out after the filings for city council. And then we'll invite the candidates to participate in that, so candidates can meet the public and the constituents citywide if they choose to participate in that. So we're looking at September, after the filings in August. Roll in a little bit of support for the people to get to know their upcoming choices.
All right, further, please.
I'd just like to say thank you to everyone that has spent time and effort on the 4th of July Commission. Everything goes into effect tomorrow. I think we're going to have a great 4th of July celebration again, and I just want to thank everyone on the planning committee that made that happen.
Thank you. There's nothing further to come before the council. The next regular city council meeting is Monday, July the 16th at 4:30 p.m. Council will stand adjourned.